Now that we have successfully installed the Artery V2X framework on both Ubuntu and Windows machines, we can proceed with creating a custom simulation setup that utilizes the various functionalities of the Artery. You can find the detailed instructions on the official website, and this video will serve as a practical walkthrough of those instructions. Our first step is to create the SUMO files. To do this, we will use the netedit to create a junction within SUMO. If you need a more in-depth explanation of how SUMO works and how to create a junction, please refer to the SUMO instruction video mentioned in the video description. Once you have finished working with the SUMO, save the network file, route file, and SUMO configuration file in a folder within the Artery scenario directory. In this video, we will name our folder Junction and save all the files in it. For the second part, navigate to the Artery, Scenario, and Junctions folder. In this folder, we need to create a CMake lists.txt file. To do this, simply open a text editor and add the line add_opp_run_junction config in capital letters and omnetpp.ini. This line essentially adds a run target for our scenario. Make sure to save the file with the exact same name as it is case sensitive. Next, we will create an omnetpp.ini file. You can use the command touch omnetpp.ini to create the file. Open the .ini file and add the configuration settings specific to your project. In this example, we will use the Tracy core version as -1. To use the latest version, followed by specifying the launcher type and SUMO config file. Since we named our SUMO config file junction.sumoconfig, we will use that. Additionally, we'll utilize the Artery's pre-configured iNet settings for the world network. Next, we will define the wireless interface settings for all the nodes, including the carrier frequency and transmitting powers, among others. To leverage Artery's features, we'll utilize the middleware, which acts as an interaction hub between applications and communication stack. We will define the middleware's update interval, date, time, and services. Now, we notice that the middleware requires the services.xml file. For this example, let's use the services.xml file from the example scenario. Navigate to the scenario folder, then to Artery, and copy the services.xml file. Paste it into your simulation setup folder. Once you open the XML file, you will see the services including the cooperative awareness CA service as well as another service called example service, which is located in the Artery applications folder. You can modify this example service according to your needs. The final step is to add our junction directory to the CMake lists.txt present in the scenario folder. Open the file and add the line add_subdirectory junction. Save the file. Now open a terminal and type the command CMake --build --target run_junction from the Artery folder. You might encounter an error since we haven't built the project after adding the new setup. Navigate to the build directory within Artery using cd command and then type cmake ... followed by cmake --build . Once the build process is complete, navigate to the scenarios directory and run the command cmake --build target run_junction again. A Qt environment will open up. and then press Run. If a pop-up appears stating that there is an unassigned parameter, it means that we have forgotten to configure some parameters for the setup. You can either provide the parameters in the pop-up itself or configure them in the ini file. In this case, we will configure them in the ini file. Go to the ini file and observe that we forgot to add an asterisk before the node middleware parameters, which is why the parameters are not being assigned to all the nodes. Add the asterisk, save the file and run the simulation again. Now, if you encounter an error related to a latitude constraint, it is because the longitude and latitude settings are not adjusted according to the iNet world settings, since we started from a random point when building the SUMO files. To resolve this error, go to the junction.net.xml file and in the project parameters variable, add the code as shown in the screen. Save the file and run the simulation again. Now, the scenario should run without any issues. If you wish to view the simulation in the SUMO GUI, go to the .ini file and add the line Tracy launcher sumo is equals to sumo GUI. Run the simulation again and now you will be able to see the simulation running in the SUMO GUI. Thank you for watching the video. You can find the various commands used in this video on the GitHub link mentioned below. In the next video, we will demonstrate how to import the results file into OMNeT++ for further analysis.